Good evening, everyone. This is Terry here, and I am back once again with another Big 12 Pick'em video. This time around, it looks like we are all the way up to week number 9. Before we get to week 9's games, let's take a little step back to week 8 just real quick here. We'll review, see how I did, those of you that have been keeping up with my videos. Last week, of course, we had Baylor at West Virginia, Kansas State visiting Oklahoma, KU at Texas Tech, Oklahoma State visiting TCU, and Iowa State at Texas. Baylor with arguably the upset, not even arguably, it was the upset of the week, being upset by West Virginia 41-27. That is a game in which I had Baylor picked, so there is a check mark against me, if you will. Also an upset of sorts, number 14 Kansas State at number 11 Oklahoma. The Wildcats edging out the victory there, 31-30 over the Sooners. The rest of the way, I had the picks all correct. Texas Tech over KU, which was 34-21. TCU with an absolute demolition of Oklahoma State, 42-9. And Texas edging the Iowa State Cyclones 48-45. So 3-2 for the week last week with the Big 12 picks. Moving on to this week, we have just 3 games in the Big 12 this week as Kansas, Baylor, Oklahoma, and Iowa State all have byes this week. All 3-day games this week. Texas at number 11 Kansas State, that's 11 a.m. on ESPN. Number 22 West Virginia visiting Oklahoma State down in Stillwater at 2:30 p.m. also on ESPN. Little love from ESPN this week with back-to-back games. And also Texas Tech visiting at number 10 TCU 2:30. That game actually going to be on Fox. As far as the picks are concerned with this particular week, don't really see anything in the way of upsets going on with these particular 3 games. Texas at Kansas State, as much as I love my beloved Longhorns, you see here I'm decked out once again in my Texas shirt. I'm going to go with Kansas State on this one, and the reason comes down to the Longhorns' offense or lack thereof. The Texas defense playing extremely well, ranking near the top of the Big 12 at this point in time, and maybe one of the top 10 in the entire country. But offense not finding itself, and the way the K-State offense is played, that should be enough to push the Wildcats over the top at home. Game margin of victory, probably 10 points or less. Number 22, West Virginia, visiting Oklahoma State down in Stillwater. Oklahoma State not in a good way after being completely obliterated by TCU last week. West Virginia quietly climbing their way into the top 25. Tough road game for the Mountaineers, but I'm going to give them the edge, 7 points or less, West Virginia over Oklahoma State. Texas Tech making the short drive, or maybe not short drive, up to Fort Worth to visit the Horned Frogs at TCU. TCU seems to be on a roll, might be the best team in the Big 12 right now. Clearly they are the highest ranked Big 12 team right now at number 10. We give TCU the nod in this game over Texas Tech, obvious reasons. The Red Raiders are a struggling team this year. So picks for the week, K-State, West Virginia, and TCU in the 3 matchups for this week. As far as rankings, a few interesting things after last week's games. TCU jumps from 12 to 10. Kansas State, after their upset of Oklahoma, jumps from 14 to 11. Baylor, having been upset by West Virginia, they drop from number 4 all the way down to number 12. Oklahoma, after the loss at home against K-State, drops from 11 to 17. And the 2 big changes, Oklahoma State, after, again, being demolished by TCU, we go from number 15 to completely out of the rankings. They are now an unranked team. West Virginia, previously unranked, makes their first appearance this year in the top 25 at number 22. The Big 12 championship scene starting to slowly shape itself. The Kansas State Wildcats, sitting at the top of the conference right now, is the lone undefeated team in conference play. Of course, they're 5-1 overall with the non-conference loss to Auburn earlier this season. But they have a 3-0 record in the conference. Beneath them are 4 schools, all of which have 1 loss in conference play. West Virginia, Oklahoma State, and Baylor, all 3-1 in conference play, and TCU 2-1 in conference play. So, and of course you have a couple of 2-loss teams in Oklahoma and Texas that really can't be discounted either. So there's lots of games still to play. We've got over a month yet of of football to play yet in the Big 12. So anything and everything can happen as this shapes up. Going further down the line there, just real quick in the standings, Texas Tech 1-3, Iowa State and KU both 0-4 in conference play. Those two teams duking it out to see who's going to get their first conference win of the season first. They're both off this week. If you're wondering, they play each other, KU and Iowa State, on November the 8th. So somebody's going to have one conference win. Then it's going to come down to see if they could both get one. So the rest of the way, though, is how this Big 12 conference thing is going to work out as far as who's going to win that championship and maybe get some playoff talk. Some games to watch for going from now forward. Of course, I've already looked at this week's games. Not really anything in way of major matchups. Don't really see anything in the way of upsets, although Oklahoma State, West Virginia could be one to keep an eye on Saturday afternoon. But going forward, next week, November 1st, TCU visiting West Virginia might be one to watch. Oklahoma State visiting K-State might have some play there. Following week, November 8th, Kansas State visiting TCU. That's going to be huge. That one will play a huge role in the outcome of the Big 12 season. Baylor also visits Oklahoma that day, and that one could be one to keep an eye on too. The following week, which is November the 15th, I don't have anything down for that one as far as keys to look out for. November 20th, which is a Thursday, Kansas State visiting Morgantown to play West Virginia. Another one that could play a huge role in how that plays out as far as who wins this conference. 2 days later, on Saturday the 22nd, Oklahoma State visits Baylor. Could be an interesting one. And then on December the 6th, which is the final Saturday of the college football season, K-State visits Baylor, and then you also have the Bedlam game, Oklahoma State at Oklahoma, that day as well. So those games, those 8 games there, are probably the biggest ones to keep an eye on for the remainder of this season. Of course, upsets are going to happen. You're going to have unranked step up and maybe play a role. This is Big 12 football, people. Anything can and will happen. Ask West Virginia last year. I'm sure they didn't expect to lose to KU, that's for sure. Things can and will happen, so keep an eye on it. You have my picks for this week, and we've looked forward just a little bit. So until we meet again, which will probably be a week for today, World Series pending, as that's really having its effect on my getting videos done and put out this particular week. And hopefully by this time next week or late into the next weekend, I can do a video on that. I am planning a Royals video once the postseason has concluded, so keep an eye out for that as well. So until we meet again, this has been my Big 12 Pick'em video for Week 9. This is Terry signing off. We will see you later.